I was talking to my son the other day about preparing for, we actually playing around with ideas for the zombie apocalypse, just goofing around. And one of the things I was talking to him about was, multiple people are a good thing. You want to band together because multiple sets of eyes, multiple sets of hands, multiple people pulling a trigger is always a good thing when you're fighting an enemy. But the one thing I told him that the biggest limiting force of how many people you could have band together in a group is you don't want to have more people than you can feed. Because once you get to where you can't feed people, then that's when things go bad. People start turning on each other. So he turned to me and he asked me, do we have enough food in our house if things ever went bad? Like if we're cut off for a while for some reason or another. And I started thinking, well, we really don't. So that made me start thinking I need to start thinking about food preparedness for emergency rations, for natural disaster, anything like that. So I started thinking, I think I need a two-tier system. I haven't even come close to putting my system together for food yet, but the first thing I thought of is one of the things I want to do is do a two-tier system. I want long-term, short-term disaster food. So what I've started taking care of first is the short-time disaster food here. I've bought a bunch of these cases of Mountain House. I've actually bought 4 so far, and I intend to buy a couple more. What I want is I have enough to get through 2 weeks of bad times in this type of food here. And then I want to have another 3 months of long-term, like larger buckets and stuff. And the reason I want to do the two-tier system is a lot of the stuff I've been looking at that you buy in bulk, once you open a can or a bucket or something, you really need to start using it. It goes bad a lot faster once it's opened. So, if you're going to be in a natural disaster situation, say we have a flood or an earthquake, and we do have earthquakes here and we do have floods here. If you're in one of those situations and say you're stranded for 3 or 4 days, well, you don't want to open a bucket of food that would have lasted 2 weeks if you didn't open, that's got 2 weeks worth of food in it and end up wasting, 10 to 14, 7 to 12 days of food just because, you had to open it because you had to have food to eat. You want something short term. Like if it's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 days, you want to be able to say, okay, I can open as many packages of these as I need, feed us for so many days, and then once things are better, once utilities are restored or the stores are back open, we haven't wasted any food. There's no food sitting that's open that has to be eaten immediately or quickly. So I want to do these, like I said, because these are short-term survival food. These are things I can open as we need, won't be affected. Now, these don't last as long as the things that are usually in the big bulk buckets. You're talking things that last 20, 25, even 30 years in some cases in those instances. These last about 6 years. It says 6 years. Now, the date on them right here is May 2019 is when these are best by. These say best if used by May 2019. That's almost 7 years from now, so I can rotate these out. Now, these weren't very expensive either. For all 4 cases, I think I spent $160. And I did go buy some other things, that aren't in the cases. Like I got some granola with milk and blueberries. I got some breakfast foods, like scrambled eggs and bacon, things like that. Some sweets for desserts and some other variety for breakfast and stuff. Because these come with chicken teriyaki and rice, beef stew, beef stroganoff and noodles, lasagna with meat sauce. Now those are good variety for dinners. I've always found if I have 3 things I can alternate between, I never get sick of anything. Like I could have steak, fried chicken, and pork chops and just alternate those the rest of my life and never be tired of any of them as long as I alternated them. So I wanted those main courses, and I wanted some extra little additional things, like I said, sweets and breakfast stuff and things like that. So I bought some, like about 15 of these little packs extra too, 15, 20 of those. I'm going to try buying some more of those. I was just pick them up. I found if I just spend, like if I'm at Sportsman's Warehouse and I don't end up buying anything, spend $4 to get a dessert thing, or $3. I think they're $3.75. Spend $5 for a main course and just start stacking them up, piling them up. So that way, like I said, I've got short-term food supply here that's got a good variety that we won't get tired of. And then I can start building my long-term food supply, which is larger bulk items that have longer shelf lives. And this here, like I said, is just so if I'm only going to be stranded for 3 days to a week, I don't want to have to break into my long-term heavy-duty storage. I want to have a short-term solution, and this is what I came up with.